Hey guys, welcome back to Black, White, and the Grays. My name is Kylie Gray, and this is not how I normally talk. I'm a little under the weather. I'm actually doing really well today, but I've had a bad head cold this past weekend, and yeah, I'm getting much better today. I'm feeling good to be out in the greenhouse. My shallot seeds came in the day before my cold got really bad, and I wanted to plant them. And I'm planting, in my last video I was planting a bunch of onions with my sister, and I didn't have enough space to plant my yellow sweet Spanish, and I didn't have any shallots. This is the most unfortunate looking picture of a shallot that I've ever seen. They're much more beautiful than this, and even on Baker Creek's website the picture of it is way more beautiful, and this is just super unfortunate. I wanted to come in here and I wanted to chat. This has been on my heart because I've gotten a lot of comments about people saying how easy that I make seed starting look, and that, oh, they're just really intimidated and it's much easier to buy starts, and I understand that 100%. But what I want to encourage you, and I think there'd be several reasons where you wouldn't want to start from seeds. You could think that the startup costs for the seed starting equipment is too expensive, which I've seen some setups, and yes, it is very expensive, but it doesn't have to be. My shelves I've all gotten secondhand for free or from garage sales. I've also even bought one of those shelves from Costco, like the metal nicer shelves. I've stolen that for my pantry though, so I just use these secondhand shelves that I can just put in the garage when I'm not using it. I bought these shop lights. I'll link them down below. You don't have to use my link. Never feel pressure to use any of the things I recommend. Whatever works best for you. But mine when I bought them are $50, and I just saw a pack of 4. They looked exactly the same as mine for $30. So you get 4 lights for $30, and I think that's pretty good. I can fit two seed trays underneath one light. So I thought 50 was good. So 30 is really good. And these lights I've had for years and years now. I've had them for probably like 5 years now, and they're still holding up great. And I just put them in my garage, and I've shown you how to start seeds a lot. So sometimes I feel like I don't need to show you, but all I have is this 6-pack of seeds. I'll just pop up one seed. They're stuck together, so you can see what I'm doing here. And I'm gonna probably cluster plant like 3 seeds, and all I do is put 1, 2, 3. Now, a general rule for seeding is you want to plant the seed twice as deep as it is wide. So if you look at this little onion seed on my finger, or the shallot seed, twice as deep. So a lot of people make the mistake of putting them, like, they shove their finger down in the hole, and the seed doesn't have enough energy to get out of its seed coating shell, and it doesn't have enough energy to get out to germinate, to come out of its thing. And germinate means, if you're unfamiliar, and that's okay, we all learn at some point. Germinate is just when the seedling pops out of the seed shell, or the seed coating, or whatever you want to call it, and it pops out of it and starts to come out. Sometimes if you shallowly plant any seed, you can start to see it. For onions, it's this little white, kind of looks like a little white worm coming out of its shell, and it's like coming out slowly, and then it eventually be So I'm going to set these down here. So you want to barely cover these, is what essentially. Don't overcomplicate it. You don't need fancy things. You don't need things. And I want to encourage you to fail. Essentially, it's okay to fail. I failed. I've overwatered. I've underwatered. I've loved them to death. I just did it last year. I had all these. This is not just seedlings. I kill seedlings every year. You just have to overplant. People always say, how do you get so much to grow? I'm like, because I grow enough to fail. So in my garden too, I plan on having pests. I've had aphids one year. It's just kind of, for me at least, it's rare here where we live in La Pine, because we get so cold that a lot of things don't survive. A lot of times we freeze at night, so aphids aren't as common, at least in my garden, but I have had them once. I planted enough. It didn't bother my yield. And with seedlings, grow enough where when you fail, you have still enough, or be able to keep planting. You have to keep doing it. You have to be tenacious. As a gardener, especially here in Central Oregon, you have to be tenacious. And no matter where you are, you kind of have to be in that mindset that you're not going to give up. I like it. I love it, I'm gonna grow. And if you keep failing and it's too late to start onions, you can always try and direct sow them out in the soil, meaning you just pop the seed outside in your garden bed. Or you just don't plant them this year, and that's okay. You can plant other things that will be successful, and if you don't like seed starting, that's okay. If you want to buy started plants, that's fine. But what happens if, well, like a started plant right now, sometimes is like you go and buy them at Walmart or Lowe's or something, and you're paying like $4 or $6 per plant. To me, that makes gardening so less accessible when the price tag is that high. It makes it out of reach for a lot of people. Where a packet of seeds is, let's see, this packet was almost full one year, and I paid $3.50. This has lasted me 4 years, still going. And oh crap on a stick, I'm talking to you guys, and I have filled up all of these except for one. Nope, filled that one up too. So apparently I didn't plant yellow. I might still plant them. They're just going to get their own seed tray. Because this whole thing is shallots. Because I got distracted talking to you. Sometimes you just overplant. Overplant. I guess that's the moral of the story here, people. But the comment of, I make it look so easy. I don't make it look easy. It's just, it is easy. The wind just picked up. We're under a wind advisory. Could get a little hairy around here. But you ever see like a baker or anybody who has a skill that you don't have, and they do it and you watch them and they're like, man, it looks so easy when they do it. It's because they've done it a bunch. I've done this a bunch, so it becomes easy to me. So, but it is really easy. You might be slower than me. You might feel this is probably the first year where I'm like, I'm pretty confident something's going to come up. And if something doesn't come up, it's not on me as a gardener. There's an issue with the seed itself. And all of my onions are coming up. There's one pack of my Walla Walla from Botanical Interest. It's actually on the struggle bus, but my other packs that I planted, they're perfectly fine. All my peppers except for my Tabasco peppers, which I said in the video, I'm not sure how these are going to germinate. Well, so far none of them have germinated, and it's the only one row of my peppers that have not come up. So sometimes it's not on you as a gardener, sometimes it's the seed, but you don't really know that until you practice makes perfect, or not even necessarily perfect, but practice makes it easier. And it's still time consuming, it's still a labor of love, but no matter where you are in your gardening journey, you can start seeds, and it can be an affordable way to get it going. I've talked to you guys about affordable ways to do it. It can be in like a strawberry thing, it can be in a strawberry clamshell thing, a blueberry one. It doesn't have to be in fancy seed starting equipment at all. If you have the cash to do that, or if you have the will and the want to do that, great. But if you don't let it stop you from doing it, because it does save a lot, and it makes it, I don't know, it justifies this a little bit more, because you're like, man, I spent $3.50 on this packet of seeds, because it says it right there. On this packet of seeds, it's lasted me 4 years. And where I could go to Costco or to Walmart and buy a packet of organic onions, not for $3.50, or a pack of them, not for $3.50. Okay, I had a little tag. Okay, I'm going to put my shallot thing down there. It just makes a lot more financial sense to just buy this instead of buying things from the store. But if you need the practice of growing vegetables to get the confidence, go ahead and buy starts. Feel free. Do whatever you need to do. But I want to encourage you to not be scared to fail. You're going to fail. That's okay. That's how you learn. That's how you become a better gardener. That's how we become successful in life. People who are successful in life aren't going through life and not failing at anything. They're the ones who fail and keep going. And that took me a really long time to figure out. I was so sensitive to failure, especially in my early 20s and into my early time in my marriage. Like, I was really sensitive to failing, and it took me a while. And even into gardening, I took failures very personal, and now it's just a part of it. I'm going to fail. You've seen me fail. I show you I fail. That's just how it is. But I keep going, and you can too. So when it'll become super easy for you, the more you do this, the more you practice, the more you fail, the more you keep going and succeeding, you learn. My onions have gotten, I was talking to my cousin, she was like, oh yeah, I got my onions started, and I water them like every 2 days or so. I'm like, are they needing watering? Because I've done this, because I'm not being a know-it-all gardener. I'm just saying I've root rotted my onions, where I have watered them to death, loved them so much they died, and they would just pluck the little green pieces out, and there would be no roots. The roots would still be in the soil, and they like break off between the roots. Where here's my shallot pack, where this piece would come off and this would all be in the ground. Obviously it'd be more green and small because this is a bigger shallot, but I'm like, don't water. Oh, don't overwater. You really want to stick your finger down in there, and if it's dry, you know to water it. If it feels damp, or you can tell on top that the soil is soggy, don't water it. Wait. Just wait. By waiting, you're loving your seedlings more. And I learned that the hard way, because I have root rotted them off and not had any to plant and had to go buy them from the store. And I think that's what's cool, because I know a lot of people are getting into gardening to save money, or maybe for some more food security. But right now we still have that that safety net of the grocery store, or like farm stores, or wherever where you can online, where you can purchase starts from. We still have that safety net, and I think this is a really good time to fail, because we're not like relying on it. We're not relying on our garden to survive. Will there ever be a time like that? I don't know. You don't know. I would like to, I think probably, but I'm not growing my garden to survive right now. I'm growing my garden because I love it. And one day maybe it will. But right now it's cutting a lot of costs. Seed starting can be intimidating, because you think, oh, you got it. There's a lot of variables. And there is. But there's a lot of variables in everything you do in life. And once you learn them, typically by failure or success. So like, you'll learn it one way or another. You'll be like, okay, well, that worked really well for me. So I'm gonna write that down and say, okay, I did it this way and it really worked for me. And then other times you're gonna be like, okay, well, love that plant to death. Gonna mark that down as a failure and try again. Keep going, because eventually you're gonna succeed, and eventually you're gonna have it down, and eventually somebody's gonna be looking at you and saying, wow, you make that look really easy. And you're like, well, it really is. It's very simple. It's not one of those things. Gardening is never one of those things that you need to overcomplicate. We don't have to, not everything has to be hard to do. And this really isn't. And you guys can do it very simply and very easily done. You don't have to have a greenhouse. Okay, that's what I have to say. I just wanted to encourage you with that. And I'm going to water my pots that you're on, because they're looking a little dry. I came out here and filled a bunch up the other day, and the bottom ones are looking pretty good still. And my soil's getting a little dry right here. And my bottom ones are getting they're fine, but I need I need to get my watering can and water these down. I'm gonna listen to an audiobook while I do this. Okay, so I watered the dry trays, and I'm actually thinking of leaving these two in here because it's been pretty warm. Obviously we have snow on the ground, but it's all melting. It's raining currently. I've looked at the forecast. It's gonna be in the upper 40s all week. It does get cold at night, but it's not looking like too many nights are gonna be freezing. These seeds can freeze. I've had it where they've been like frozen solid in here and it's fine. So, and it just unthaws in the day and yeah, works out. I'm gonna try it out. The shallots, I'm looking for the tag, I have it in here. The shallots have the little tag, I didn't label it. I got to thinking, as I'm watering all my things and filling it up, I'm listening to this audiobook. And I thought maybe it'd be helpful. Oop, you're jiggling. Thought maybe it'd be helpful for some of you who may be in the same position as I am. It is called The In-Between by Hadley Vihos. She's a RN who works in hospice care. And she goes and tells stories of how she got into hospice and about patients in hospice. And I think for me, and I haven't talked about this at all with any of you, is both my grandparents are still alive on my mom's side, and my grandmother, they live close by. I've talked about taking them dinner, or you might have caught different things about that. My grandmother just went into hospice care, and I think just saying that out loud to people is making it feel really real, because I haven't really had emotion about it. Anyway, this book has really, I don't know what chapter I'm on. What chapter? I'm on chapter 4. And I have watched her videos before, and part of me has always kind of been a little scared of the death, everything that has to deal with death. It's not very comfortable, and I know that is very common in a lot of people, but it is a reality. And I know I'm very fortunate to have 2 out of 4 of my grandparents still on earth with me. I know I'm very fortunate, and that they're very close. I know that I'm fortunate. It doesn't make it any less difficult, I think. And a great loss, no matter when it happens, is still a great loss. This book has just really helped me, and just watching a lot of Hadley's videos online have been they bring a lot of peace. And it's kind of a unique thing. We're all kind of reading this book. My grandmother's reading this book. I'm listening to it. My mom's reading. My mom just got it today, and she's going to be reading it. My sister and my cousin, we're all kind of going through this book together. And my grandma, she's not one to shy away about hard topics. And so it makes it kind of, this book has given us a bridge, at least the grandchildren, to be able to be like, oh, we're reading the same thing. What did you think about that? Or what have you? And I think that is good. And I think it makes death a little more, less scary. And I know when you're a believer, to be absent with the body is to be present with the Lord. And I cling on to that. That is that. So if you are going through this situation, or just need a good book, you'll cry. You'll get choked up on a lot of parts. But it is a good book, and I wanted to recommend it to you if you guys are going through a similar thing in your life with somebody you know. It is comforting. It is wild. And just the difference between somebody going into hospice versus somebody going into the hospital is astronomical. And I'm very, very grateful that my grandmother gets the care through hospice. Just tell the people you love that you love them, and spend as much time with them as you possible. And when I was a little girl, my grandma, she would have, this pink chair in her bathroom, and it was like a high chair. It was like a bar stool, but in her bathroom. It was tall enough for us little grandkids to hop up on there and be able to see ourselves in the mirror. And she called it Pretty Pretty, and she would bring us in for Pretty Pretty, and she would do our hair and makeup and skincare. And my grandma has taught me so much of my skills as a mom, she's taught me how to sew, she's taught me how to bake, she taught me how to cook. Now, my grandma learned to cook from her grandmother, who is very much German. So the spices that were used were I've talked about this a bit. The spices that were used were very minimal, like salt and pepper, and that is it. But my favorite meal that she used to make us, because she hasn't been cooking for a while now, but my favorite meal she used to cook for me, and my mom never cooked chicken breasts like this. We had other types of meals my mom cooked with more seasoning. My grandma would just cook with these just chicken breasts with lightly seasoned salt and pepper. Maybe it was some like lemon pepper or something. I don't know. And some basic iceberg or spinach. And that was it. And then Hidden Valley Ranch. And we just thought she was the bee's knees. We thought it was the best dinner. I was talking to my sister, and my sister has the same memory too. We loved this dinner, and it was just, when we were younger, it used to be iceberg, and I remember spinach. But my sister swears it was just iceberg lettuce. I do remember that now, but I also remember the spinach. Maybe Grandma upgraded to spinach later in life, on in life. But that woman has taught me so much, and now I get to go this week, Friday, and my cousin and I are going to go, and we're gonna go do Pretty Pretty with Grandma. And I'd like to make that a weekly thing. I know that I'm very fortunate to get this full circle moment with my grandmother. So, anyway, I highly recommend that book. And I will see you guys on my next video. Bye, guys.